create content that inspires you? Talent that is simply too dope to describe? Welcome to Fahrenheit TV. Fahrenheit TV. Fahrenheit TV is a live monthly variety show that showcases people's greatness through narratives and artistic expression. We're back with a brand new season of content that will uplift your soul. Tune into our live episodes here on BNN TV or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to follow us on social media to keep up with all our latest news. We hope that you'll tune in. Hi everyone, I hope that you're having a great evening and a peaceful summer so far. My name is Farah June and I am your host and producer of Fahrenheit TV, and tonight I am so excited to bring you another virtual episode. This quarantine, we're surviving this pandemic, and one of the things I decided to try was being a vegan. And so far the journey has been really great. I'm almost 2 months in, but trying a vegan lifestyle, as exciting as it could be as well as pretty challenging. So I've really been relying on, blogs, Instagram accounts, and, people in the community who are vegan, who are, trying a plant-based lifestyle to, get some inspiration from them. And one of the these two amazing individuals actually who I've gotten a lot of inspiration from are Cecilia and Ivannoe of Coco Verde. And so I'm so excited to have them as our extraordinary guests this month, because they're going to be talking a little bit about their vegan journey and how they turned that into a blog, for the community, and a business for the community. This interview was so inspiring to me, and it really gave me the encouragement I needed to, experiment with more ingredients and try new recipes. And Cecilia and Ivannoe were so kind enough to really talk about some facts and myths about veganism. So if you're, thinking about trying a plant-based diet, this interview is going to be so beneficial to you. And they were so nice to show us a demo of, something that you could create at home. So please tune in. I am so humbled and honored to have these individuals on our platform, and I hope that you'll get some inspiration and that you'll tell a friend. So stay tuned. Fahrenheit TV. All right, hi Fahrenheit TV, and welcome to another episode. I hope you are well, healthy, and having a peaceful summer so far. Today, I am so excited to have two entrepreneurs and chefs who have changed my life in so many great positive ways. On our show today, we have Cecilia and Ivannoe of Coco Verde. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We're excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope that all is well in your way. So before we start talking about Coco Verde and this amazing business that you both have, I wanted to talk to you and just check in with you and see how you're doing during this, global pandemic, and how you've been able to stay at peace, hopefully.
I think we've been talking about this, and I think they're like many other people. They're like the ebbs and flows. Some days are better than others. To take care of ourselves, we've really gotten into biking, and that's been like a really beautiful thing that we've been able to share and do as a family, with Ivana in the back seat on one of our bikes and biking along. And so that's been really nice to use as an outlet to be able to connect with nature and kind of get out there and be moving, and keep that kind of inner calm while getting some exercise.
And we go like one day at a time,
That's awesome. I'm glad that you guys are doing things as a family, and you're staying safe and staying active. I think that's awesome. And Ivannoe, I know she's having fun in the background, like yay.
She loves it. She's just like wee. So we'll go up and down the hill. She's like wee. The hard work, cuddling uphill, worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm glad.
Do you want to share something?
Oh yeah, for sure. For me, I think I've just been trying to stay like productive and creative, but also just like trying to stay like getting some rest, because I think before the pandemic I didn't realize I was like doing so much at the same time. So like having too much time on my hands, I was like, this is weird. I feel like I should be doing more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been trying to balance both of that, just like staying calm, but then also doing like creative projects like this. This is my baby, so I'm like so excited to do this. This gives me like energy. So yeah.
Love it. I love
Yeah. So before we start talking about the birth of Coco Verde, I wanted to ask you both, because I shared with you both that I've been vegan for 50 days and counting.
Yeah.
And I have a lot to owe to you both, because I've been, really looking at your recipes and also just your Instagram, your blog, just for motivation and inspiration. But I wanted to ask you both, what inspired you to become vegan and, adopt this plant-based lifestyle? Because for me, it's been really good, but sometimes it could be challenging, So I'm like, I need to talk to some experts. So I wanted to ask you, how did you both become vegan, and what inspired you to become vegan?
Yeah. Do you want to share first?
Well, I think everything started like with Ivana.
Mm-hmm.
Because more like we were like eating all kind of foods,
Mm-hmm.
most of them like junk food and stuff.
Whatever's fat, like eat, like especially as new parents, you're kind of,
Mhm.
I'm like, if I can go through a drive-through, or if we can do it quick, like you're so
Yeah.
tired, and so like, but it's also such an important time. Like I wish I had nourished my body in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
But you were kind of in survival mode, so we were like just eating a lot of fast food, like a lot of
Yeah.
that was like quick and easy to put together.
Mm-hmm.
And then we came to a moment of realization, and we are like, Ivana is watching us, like,
Aww.
putting all this food on her, like,
Mm-hmm.
and we like Cecilia went like doing and researching different options.
Mm-hmm.
She saw like about vegan food it was and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cecilia went for it, like she trying to go more further and further. And then like when she tried like to get like Latino vegan food, like there was not so many options,
I know.
maybe a few tacos or burritos, and that was it.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you both, because before Ivana was born, you were a marathon trainer and you were an experienced chef. So like, was that hard, in your careers at that point, to even adopt a vegan lifestyle? Because like for marathon trainers, in my mind, it's like you have to eat so much protein. It's like, yeah, I get it. And then if you're an experienced chef, I mean, you're cooking all sorts of like dishes and stuff. So was that challenging, just like changing that?
Yeah, I think for me on that side of things, it was challenging more so, especially like, as you were saying, I think it was really the mindset shift that I needed, where it was like, you'd be like, oh, like I need this protein, or I there are so many foods that I can't eat. Like I can't eat this anymore. I can't eat that anymore. And it was once I was able to kind of make that shift in my mind of like, okay, I'm not eating like basically 3 or 4 of meats and cheese and stuff, but like I'm eating all of these other beans, and I'm eating all these other vegetables that I never really like thought about before. I'm eating all this other stuff. And just learning too. I always, whenever I get like a protein question, I always like point to my cousin's a bodybuilder, and he's vegan,
Oh, wow.
plant-based, and so it's just, I think, learning from him how the misconception of like that we need to be like kind of like overloading ourselves with protein for like lifting, because I would always be like drinking my protein shakes, doing like all this stuff as with that, and when in reality, switching and being plant-based, I felt like so much more energy. Like it was such a boost. So I felt like it was so much easier to do lifts. I was so much easier to do like the higher, to push with the effort and running and things like that. So it actually turned out, I had all my reservations and was like really nervous about it. And it actually turned out to be like a really positive thing for my health journey.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And that's something that you don't really hear often. So it's refreshing to hear that you had even more energy. This is what you need, especially if you're a trainer. And for you, Ivana, when you were making these dishes, because you were an experienced chef, was that hard to now make them vegan, like kind of shifting that a little bit?
It was challenging in the beginning, because when you are like working like with no vegan food the whole day, and then you have to start doing like vegan food, it could be challenging, But then like when we start like experimenting like with different recipes, let's say veganize it, I like my mind like got so blown. I was like, this is awful. Every single time, like, wow, I can't, what? This is vegan.
So that's something they teach you at, like, you know, when you go to school and stuff, like, okay, make it vegan.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it was like, you know, because every single day she was like beautiful, like so much color, and
oh yeah,
it feels like every single vegan day she feels alive, you know.
Yeah.
Ivana said the other day, she said, Mama, can you make me a beautiful meal? And I was like,
oh, that's so cute.
I think it's because we think, you know, and we talk about it like that. And, you know, I think that she is like also starting to pick up on that and just like how much she loves like the colors and like, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah. And they always said if you had a colorful plate of food, then you know you're eating healthy. So I think that's such a beautiful thing that you both have become. Obviously, you're her role models as parents, but you really took it a step ahead to be like, no, we have to really be influential and show her like, you know, this is healthy eating and it's delicious as well. So that's awesome. So, okay, so Coco Verde was born in 2018. So like 2 years ago, kind of?
Yeah.
But
2 years, well, 2 years, blog anniversary was in February and our catering anniversary is in August. So
that's awesome. You're almost there. That's awesome. So congratulations on that. That's an amazing accomplishment. And before it was a business, you started off as a blog, a very helpful blog that I still go on there and stuff. So when you were like, was it challenging to kind of recreate some of those, you know, classic Dominican dishes? Because like some of them I saw like the fish and the rice and the plantains and stuff, but I was like, oh, how would she make this vegan? Because I remember my like neighbors eating this. This is amazing, but it looks so delicious. So was it like hard at all, like recreating some of those classic Dominican dishes? And did you feel like you were sacrificing flavor at all? Because I think for a lot of us, flavor is like the most important part.
Absolutely. I think for us, it was really about preserving that flavor and preserving tradition, preserving that authenticity, and just thinking about it, reimagining it. So thinking about it in a different way. And so, you know, we'll season things the same way. Like when we make like pastelitos, the filling, like we season it the same way. So it doesn't have the beef in it or the chicken or whatever it is. We'll have something else like lentils or jackfruit or vegetables, or mushrooms. So we'll use those same spices, like, you know, we'll make the sofrito in a little bit and we'll use the same seasonings, the cilantro, you know, the parsley, like all that stuff, and season the vegetables or the beans or like whatever it is with that. And so I think that was really what made it easier for us, finding the familiarity and being able to see our childhoods and our culture reflected back onto us. Because we've said that it was really important for us to make the healthy step for Ivana, but also for her to still have those cultural connections and the cultural ties. We didn't want it to be like, you know, that she's just eating, I always say like, oh, just kale. I love kale.
Yeah, but that's what people think of vegans. Like, oh, you're just eating a bunch of leaves.
Whatever it is. And it's just like, no, but we can still have that tie. You can still have that, you know, that love affair with your food. And have it be authentic.
And I think that's what makes your brand so unique, is because it still stays with the culture. It still celebrates, you know, your heritage, and it tastes good. I think that's, you know, that's like a win-win in every situation, because a lot of times when you look at veganism, and I'm kind of getting into the next question, is that a lot of times you look at veganism, it doesn't really include people of color or people that look like us. And so you kind of look at it like, this is unfamiliar to me. This is not what my culture, you know, could do. But then when you look at the health benefits of like, you know, cutting down on meat, you're like, wow, this could really cure a lot of diseases that our community suffer from, like diabetes, heart disease, and, you know, all sorts of things. So like for you both, I know that, you know, for your brand, you've made it like, you know, Latin vegan cuisine, but why was it like so important to you both to really show people that, you know, Latin cuisine has a place in the vegan world?
Yeah, I mean, for us, so I'm a public health researcher also. I am completing a PhD in social policy, and it's really
queen.
We're getting there. Hopefully in the next couple of months
You will. We're putting it into the universe. You will. Get that degree.
Yes. But very much focused on health equity. So the intersections of racism and the effect on, like the embodiment effect, how that plays out in health outcomes. The American Diabetes Association and the American Heart Association both endorse vegan and plant-based diets to mitigate the effects of heart disease and diabetes on the body. And so it can be a way to prevent or a way to alleviate some of those symptoms. And, you know, I've heard so many stories about people being able to wean themselves off medication after changing their diets like that, and really be able to reverse some of these things. And we know that Black and Latinx folks primarily experience the brunt of some of those diseases and health outcomes because of lots of things like, you know, structural inequity and thinking about food deserts, thinking about all these other things and how that's compounded. And so it was really important for us to make that change for those reasons as well. And to really think about, it felt kind of selfish, I think, for us to just be creating it and not sharing the recipes, you know, kind of like, okay, we're going to do this, but we're not going to like help other people or try to at least like share some of those things. And so I think that that's really been big for us and really important to us to be able to share that back.
Yeah, well, I'm very appreciative, as I've told you many times, but I think that shows true leadership, right? Because when you look at, when I think of community leaders, I think of people like you both who are selfless and, you know, like, I'm going to share this, it's going to help my community. I'm not just trying to make a buck or anything. So I think that's a beautiful thing. And also that you're getting your daughter into it. So she's probably going to take this on in the future and be like, everyone could be vegan. So I think this is awesome. So for me, like, when I was getting into like becoming a vegan myself, in the journey, what it really inspired me was when I saw that documentary called What the Health on Netflix. I don't know if you both watched it as well.
I was at point too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. It got all of us. That's awesome. So, I remember when I first watched it and I was like shocked by some of the images that I was seeing. And I remember it had a lot of mixed reactions in the community. Like some of my peers, like us, we were like, oh man, we got to make a change. You guys made a change way before I did. So kudos to you. But then like the other half, especially like I would say like the elders in my life, they were like, this is propaganda. You need meat to survive. Like, you know, like, and it made sense because a lot of times when I eat like a meal before this, I was like, oh, if it doesn't have meat, it's not a complete meal. Or I don't feel like, you know, I'm going to be full, or, you know, all of those things that we're kind of used to. And since we're all children of Caribbean parents, you know, like that's part of our culture. Like we're on the same island, you know, all of us. So like that's part of our culture to have meat as always part of, you know, the meal. So I wanted to ask you both, when you're creating this business where you're eliminating meat and, you know, animal products all the way, how was that in terms of not only convincing your personal circle that, you know, Latin cuisine could be vegan and delicious, but then also trying to, you know, create a business and tell other people, you know, veganism is awesome if they're still a little skeptical about it?
Yeah, I think it was a matter of changing like the perspective of people, you know. I think we're expecting like, oh, like this is like, you know, vegan food is like green leaf and stuff. And then like, okay, like look at this, try it. And then when you see like the reactions of on their faces, you just come to at that point of realization, like, you know, this is good stuff. It's not only us, you know.
And I think like you were saying earlier, like, oh, like that we came to it sooner than you did. And I for me, I think that it's such a personal journey and it happens when it's supposed to happen. You know what I mean? And so it's not that like somebody's ahead of somebody else. And I think for us in that sense, it's really about leading by example and kind of like, oh, like we'll share, like we'll bring things to family parties and like, I have no illusions that my family's going to go vegan. Like I really have no expectations in that. But they do, like they enjoy the things that we bring and they love it. And if maybe they have like one meatless meal a week or like, you know, they start to incorporate more plants in their lives, then like that's a win for us. And I think especially for me, I'm the type of person that like, if you tell me not to do something, like I'm probably going to do it.
Same, rebellious.
Exactly.
We're millennials, so that makes sense.
Exactly. I don't want to hear like, you need to go vegan and and do this and do that. Like I just, you know, I want to be able to share like the really cool things that we've really loved. And if it lands with other people, then that's beautiful for us.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful. And it makes sense. That's why you guys do so many demonstrations, right? Of like showing people how to cook these meals. And from the crowds and the pictures that I've seen, people all look amazed. Like, all right, I want a plate.
Yeah. I think that's part of it too, is like going back to what you were saying of, if you don't have meat on your plate, it's not a complete meal. It's just it's in our cultures. It's just such a such a prevalent thought. And so when we go out and do demos, people are like, Dominican vegan food? Like, what? Like, is that even possible? Right?
Yeah.
So it's like very like much of a curiosity. And then like once they kind of start to smell things and taste things, and they're like, oh, okay, like this is good.
Yeah. Which is a thank God, because I was skeptical too. I was like, the Dominican food that I eat always has meat. Like, how did this make this? But then when I see what you guys are able to do, like the tofu and then the lentils and the vegetables, I'm like, they are brilliant. Like, this, was it a lot of trial and error in like the kitchen for you both? Like a lot of trial and error of like trying this recipe and then substituting it?
I think it was definitely a lot of playing around, which was for us a lot of fun, because again, Ivannoe a chef. I grew up cooking. That's always been a big part of like some things that I really love. Like for us, it's just like nice to like grab a glass of wine and cook and experiment, see what happens.
Building from ground up, like it wasn't like previous parameters. Like let me just search a recipe for this. What was no recipe, or very little. So we were like developing like the recipes. But what really drive us, it was like that achieving like that flavor, that flavor that was like, we are getting there, we're getting there, we're close, and then when we get it, it was like, man, damn.
So good.
That's awesome. That's the best accomplishment. Was it easy or hard at all finding ingredients? Because I know, like you mentioned, food deserts before, and I know for a lot of people, they're like, how am I going to get these, humongous mushrooms or whatever, that you see in a lot of recipes? Was it hard at all finding ingredients?
I think the two ingredients that are the most difficult to find, in my opinion, are the drum mushrooms, the king oyster mushrooms, and the jackfruit, because specifically you need the to make things with jackfruit, to like use it as a kind of meat replacement or something like that. You need to have the unripened and in like either brine or water, and so that those two things can be a little bit more challenging to find. But I feel like those things, like we've been seeing them at Market Basket, we've been seeing them at places. It used to be like that we would have to go specifically to like an Asian market, like they have 88 here, or the close by us, what's that place that's called, the Vietnamese, isn't it? V-Mart. And so like places like that are more specialty food stores. Those two things are much more popular in Asian cuisine. But now I feel like it's just becoming so much more mainstream that it's everywhere. So it's definitely becoming a lot more accessible than it was before. But I would say that like for the most part, all of the rest of the stuff, like a lot of the vegetables, a lot of like the beans, like dried beans and things like that is definitely a lot easier to access.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, for me, like what kind of inspired me to like try the vegan journey now is because, we're surviving this pandemic. And one good thing about it is that I have a lot of extra time on my hands. So I was like, all right, this is the time for me to like try this journey. But before I started June 1st, so like 50 days and counting. But before that, when the pandemic first happened and we were in quarantine, I think in March, I know me and my peers were staying at home eating all sorts of junk food. Like I just was eating a lot of unhealthy stuff because it's like you're worried about what's going to happen. You're worried about your job security, all sorts of like stresses that you're just kind of eating just to, make the time go by. You might be a little bored. There's only so much Netflix you could watch, So, but one of the things I thought about is now that I'm in the vegan journey is that like, me and my peers, my family, we're eating all of this junk food or, overeating on food that might not be healthy for us. And I'm like, this could kind of affect our health even more in the future, even after COVID is over, hopefully one day. Like that's a lot of things to think about. Like there's going to be a lot of extra stresses. So I wanted to know what your thoughts are on that. And if you have any advice of how people could have a healthier relationship with food during this pandemic.
Absolutely. I think it's difficult, especially in a time of such stress where, food is such a comfort for so many of us. And like for me, and like, I have things that I love to eat, when I'm feeling a specific mood and things like that. And so it can be challenging at times to find that balance. I'm definitely the type of person that I would not like, my daughter, we love cake, and that's I will, I will never say like, don't eat this or don't eat that. It's more for me, it's about being able to find the balance and knowing that for me, a lot of the times, you know, when I'm feeling sad, when I'm feeling these things, what I actually need to do instead of reaching towards like my favorite chips and cupcakes and cookies and things like that is nourish my body and eat a lot of vegetables and be drinking my water, because that actually helps me feel more balanced and feel better and all of that stuff. And so I think that that's really the big thing, is knowing that what habits you're encouraging and what are you really feeding. You know, there's like that classic drawing that I see all the time. It's like, what are you feeding? Are you fueling kind of illness and maybe ill health by eating some of these, like lots of junk food, lots of processed food, lots of food with lots of additives? Or are you feeding your body and nourishing your body and feeding health and through, you know, plants and fruits and things like that? And again, I feel like I would never be like, don't ever eat chips or don't ever eat cake or cupcakes. Yeah. I think like, you know, just being able to find that balance and knowing, being able to listen to your body and trust what your body is really communicating with you. I don't know if that answered.
Awesome. No, you did. That was beautiful. Yeah, I was like, I'm taking in the advice as well. Like, yep, balance. Yeah, I think for me too. Like, before I started the vegan journey, I didn't realize how much sodium I was taking in, because a lot of like the saltines. I don't know. I love saltines, so I was eating those like religiously and like other things, and I was like, oh, that's why I feel so much bloated or, you know, a little tired all the time. So like, kind of, you know, balancing all of that has made me feel a lot better. Like I'm usually not up around this time, but I was so excited to wake up this early. Yeah.
And like the high fructose corn syrup, and that was like that I learned in college, I think, and something that I think that everybody should know, because I feel like, again, you should make the choices that you want to make for your body, but also they should be informed choices. And so I think for me, learning how to read a nutrition label, and like learning that, like, we still eat bread all the time. We make bread, we buy bread, and I love bread. Me too. But a lot of loaves of bread, if you look at it, the first ingredient will be like either water or high fructose corn syrup. And it's like, that's not what you want. Like you want always the first ingredient to be whatever it is that you're purchasing. So if it was bread, you'd want it to be wheat. If it was, you know, whatever, you would want it to be that thing. And so just learning, I think the vegan journey also just really showed me how many additives and things that you just didn't know. Because now you have to read labels and see, like, is there milk in here? Are there eggs in here? Now really being connected with that and understanding that a lot of times you're not even eating the thing that you think that you're eating.
Yeah, that's interesting. Wow. Now I'm like, okay, because I read some like food labels, obviously, for like, you know, to see if it's vegan, but I never thought about the high corn fructose. Oh, that one is the killer one. That one is like the dangerous one. Wow.
So addictive.
Yeah. So, okay. So because I've been on this vegan journey, I'm like, I think everyone could try or like be vegan or try to be vegan. But I know for a lot of Black and brown communities, you know, they have a lot of fears, and I understand them because I had those myself. So I kind of wanted to do a game with like a fact or myth with you both. And you could tell me if it's a fact or myth, and we could just tell the audience. The first one is it a fact or a myth? Without meat, I can't get protein.
Myth.
That's a myth, definitely.
Widely thought of as a fact, but it's a myth.
Yes.
There's protein. I like learning that there's protein in everything. It's just like, that was wild for me, because totally thinking like, oh, you need chicken or you need steak or whatever it is. And it's like, no, you don't actually need those things.
Yeah, they're all in vegetables, which is awesome. Okay, next one is fact or myth. Being vegan is expensive.
It's a myth. It's a myth. If you keep it like whole food as possible, like it's really affordable. I think you should start like buying like the processed food, like processed like burgers or stuff. Yeah, it can get like really expensive.
Yeah, that is so true, because, okay, so the first month of my vegan journey, I was buying all of these processed meats, right? Kind of, I guess I was trying to substitute it, like, oh, I could get this spicy vegan chicken and it's still vegan. But, oh my gosh, it has so much salt in it, and it was so expensive. I was like, this is like a good chunk of my bill. So, yeah, that is true. The balance that you guys talked about before is so important, but you don't even need that to get your protein or whatever. So thank you for making that like, you know, clear, like buy whole foods and it won't be as expensive and it'll be more delicious.
Exactly.
Yeah, like sometimes like you can get like, you know, those like processed food, like whatever, you don't have the time, like, you know, to do all food, like whatever. Okay.
As like a treat, yeah. Either as a treat yourself, or if you're like low on time, like, you know, they're nice to have.
Yeah. Yeah. But like doing it like every single day, like, you know, and keep like your vegan diet like that, like it's not convenient for your finance. So.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in these times, we have to save those pennies.
You're on a budget.
Yes. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so next one is fact or myth. Being vegan is good for animals and the environment.
Yes, that's a fact.
That's a fact. That's true. Yeah.
I think a lot of people, for a lot of people, they just don't realize how unsustainable the meat and animal agriculture industry is, like currently as it stands. It's just the amount of, I think that was the biggest eye-opening thing with what the health, like the effect on people and on animals. It's just wild.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, okay, I should definitely try to be vegan. Okay, next one is fact or myth. Vegan food is bland.
Myth.
That's a myth. Definitely.
Could be, you know, if you're just eating again.
Well, now with Coco Verde, everybody, just to let you know, Coco Verde is all about the flavor, so get with it. That's awesome. Okay, next one, fact or myth. Being vegan makes you lose or gain weight.
I think
it could be both.
It could be both.
Yeah.
Because if you're just eating Beyond Burgers all the time and, you know, a lot of processed foods, I think that it could have either like a worse effect. But I think a lot of people do it for the health benefits and end up losing weight. So I think, if
you keep it balanced, like you could lose weight. But if you keep it balanced, like, you know, sometimes like you can consume a lot of vegan food, like have a lot of carbs the whole way.
Yeah.
You know? You don't wanna lose a lot of weight. But if you keep it like focused, like you could lose a lot of weight.
Yeah. That's good. So I hope everybody heard that. It's all about the balance and doing your research. Yep. Okay. All right. 2 more. And then, so the next one is fact or myth. You can only be vegan if you eat organic food.
That's a myth.
That's a myth.
Yeah. I would say that it's nice there's like certain foods that you should buy organic if you have the means to, like some of the fruits, like the thin-skinned fruits, because they just absorb more pesticides. So things like blueberries and strawberries and things like that. But if you don't have to eat all organic to be vegan.
Awesome. And I'm glad that you said that, because you could also just, you know, buy fruits and vegetables from like local farmers and everything too. So that's another option. That's good. And I didn't know about the berries. So you see, I'm learning. I'm going to try to get those organic.
The other thing is, so if you're buying from local farmers, which is awesome, and we should always do that when we're able to, a lot of times local farmers aren't allowed to label their things organic because it costs a lot of money to get the certification. And so it could be organic, but not have the label because of the cost. It's prohibitive.
Okay, that's good to know. Man, money just, you know, sometimes so hard. But at least, you know, it's a little better.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, and the last one, fact or myth, being vegan is cool.
Yes, fact.
That's fact.
Cool.
It's really cool.
That's awesome. Okay, so thank you guys for playing that game. I hope everybody got some of those facts and myths, and hopefully that will inspire you to get on their journey if you're interested. So I was thinking about your blog and social media, right? Which is so beautiful, by the way. Like all the pictures that you guys take and the behind the scenes, it's like perfection. And it really inspires people like, oh, I want to make this colorful dish, like Ivannoe was saying, like, Mommy, can you make me something, you know, delicious and colorful? And I wanted to ask your advice for like new vegans like myself, or people who might be interested in the journey. What advice would you give them if they feel like overwhelmed? Because, you know, it could be a little overwhelming when you first start.
My best friend always says that every meal counts. So even if you're trying and you're still not there like 100% yet, like every meal counts. Don't be so hard on yourself, especially in the beginning. And also it was helpful for me in the beginning to pick up a couple of recipes a week that really excited me. So I was like, okay, Sunday, I'm going to cook this pasta dish looks really good, or this like salad, this green bowl looks really good, or whatever it is, like just to kind of, to to be a way to like motivate myself, try something new, and also just kind of, you know, get started on the journey. So I think definitely finding those recipes that like really get you excited and like to try it, I think is really helpful.
Yeah, like one vegan friend of ours, he wanted to say in an interview, he said like, you need to be a really bad vegan to become a good vegan. And this means like you're gonna like be like trying and you're gonna miss a few points, let's say. But then eventually you get better like with point, you know, because it's like a, you know, when you are born and raised like eating certain ways, to another way, you know, it could be really challenging. You start doing it like one meal at a time, you know, one meal at a time, and then like you're gonna feel that connection with your body, and your body gonna say like, you know, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like it's kind of hard to say, but you feel like your body like say like thank you, like, you know, I feel nourished. I feel like, you know, it's like a plant. Like a plant, like it can get caught, but then like, you see like the plant start like rooting and start like spreading and stuff. It's kind of like that. Like you feel like that growing and that empowering inside of you. It's kind of hard to explain.
Yeah,
That's how it is.
Talking about that the other day. Sorry, this is like a tangential story, but we have gotten really into plants, like just house plants, that non-edible plants that just for decorations. We've gotten really into those. And when you get into them, you also start propagating, which is basically when you take a piece of the plant and you grow another plant with that piece. Water, or sometimes you can just put it directly in soil. But we were just saying the other day, we were just talking about the fact that it's just so beautiful that you can do that with plants.
I know.
And it grows, and it's just, it felt like for us, it's like, you know, when you're eating plants and you're eating plant-based, you're literally putting life into your body. Like if you were to bury a cow, the cow decomposes and becomes the earth, but you can't grow another cow from that. But with plants, like, you know, it's just this beautiful, life-giving, regenerating type of thing. And I know that kind of sounds a little bit kind of hippy dippy, but and maybe that's what I mean. It is what I mean, but
no, I think that's beautiful because that's the power of nature. And like, I love both of your advices because like for me, when I started off, I was like, I'm gonna give myself one cheat meal a week, right? Just because it might be like that's a big shift of like eating a lot of meat. Cause I used to eat a lot of meat like a king, like basically like a whole bunch of meat in the morning so I could get through the day. So like having that one cheat meal and not feeling so bad about it, like Ivannoe was saying, kind of helped me along the journey because it's like, all right, I'm gonna make some mistakes, but you know, at least I'm still going. And then over time, it's like, oh, I don't really need that cheat meal. I'm good. I can just eat these carrots and I'll be fine. So I love both of your advices because it shows you that like don't be so hard on yourself and that you are really nourishing your body. Like you're so right on that. It's just you have to just go through it in order to know what we're talking about, especially for both of y'all. Because wow, it's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So one bonus question before we kind of wrap up the interview. If you were to cook a Coco Verde recipe for anybody, living or an ancestor, who would it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
It could be a celebrity. It could be like someone that you know, that you want to know, whoever you want.
That's a good one. Yeah. First, that's a good question. Oh, I don't even know.
Oh, wow. I think I will cook it like for my aunt, Tia Rosa. Like she used to have like cancer, died from cancer, and then like I would love like to give her like that gift of eating like vegan Dominican food, and maybe she could be like alive,
Yeah.
Like we'll have like that knowledge at that time,
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna lie. I was about to say my aunt. I was just talking to my cousin about my tia Pituca, and she passed away before I was born. And she's like that ancestor that I always wished. Like in all the stories that they tell about her, she just seems like this like super socially conscious, like super awesome, like badass, amazing person that I wish that I could have met. And I feel like that would be really cool to be able to like just share a meal with her, and I think that she would be able to like appreciate it on a on a nice level.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful, and thank you both for sharing that, and being vulnerable in that sense. And I also feel like our ancestors kind of walk with us. So even when you guys are making these meals, they're like, I feel like their spirit is kind of with you, So that's a really beautiful thing, and it really shows you the power of food, because I feel like when you have a meal with someone, it's like very personal. You know what I mean? So you kind of share and you talk, and yeah, it's like a bonding moment. So that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so last question before, because I know you guys are going to show us a demo, so I'm so excited, and I know our audience is going to be like, yes, finally. I wanted to ask you, how can we support Coco Verde? I know that, we are surviving a pandemic, but it's still very important for us to support, especially, small businesses. What can we do to support you, and if you have any future plans that we could look forward to?
Yeah, absolutely. So we love catering still. So if you have things that you would like to be catered, we're happy to do that. Making a lot of cakes too. So if you have a birthday or something like that you would like to celebrate quarantine style, we have lots of different cakes. I think my more recent favorites are the lemon guava, and the pistachio cake has been really popular recently too, and the carrot cake. But we make a lot of different flavors. And hopefully by the time this interview airs, we'll also be doing individual meals. And so people will be able to order off of a set menu, a weekly menu that will rotate. And you'll be able to order your meals and, be able to have a piece of Coco Verde.
Yeah, that's beautiful too, especially because if you are interested in being a vegan, I feel like we've really brought you in now. You could order your meal plan from Coco Verde, and it kind of helps you along the journey, so you won't feel alone. You won't have to. You still do research, but not as much, So
you will hold your hand.
Yes, I think that's beautiful. One question I forgot to ask you is, how did you come up with the name Coco Verde? Does it have any meaningful, tie behind it?
Yeah. Well, from our island, the green coconuts, they're the ones that are more prevalent. Like I think in the United States, like the brown, when people think of coconuts here, I think they think much more of like the brown, like the husky ones, the hairy ones. Whereas the ones that we're used to seeing and having are the green coconuts.
Yeah.
But also green for us is it's my favorite color, and it just really makes it's just it's a good color.
It is.
Think of life, and you see like the green, the lush, so that was like really important to us. And then, but also we use coconut in a lot of our dishes. And so think about like, coconut milk and like all that stuff. Like one of our favorite dishes is the pescado con coco.
Yes, I need to try that. I'm going to ask you guys during my birthday to get that catered right to me. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Or the arroz con dule with like the pigeon pea rice that you can make it with coconut milk too.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that it's connected to your heritage, but it's also connected to food and everything that you guys are doing. So that's beautiful. So thank you guys so much for doing this interview. How can we follow and support you online?
Yes, absolutely. So we're at Coco Verde Vegan pretty much across the board on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. And we have our website too. We're on LinkedIn if you're on LinkedIn. And feel free to get in contact with us. We love send messages. So feel free to send us a DM or, email or fill out a contact form on our website, and we'd love to get in touch.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you both. You guys are inspiring community leaders. I love to see business people who are really doing something for a greater cause. And you are saving a lot of lives too. I don't know if you realize that, but you really are. So thank you. And I know the audience is also going to thank you as well. But now we're going to get to see a demo. Yay!
Today we thought that it would be really great to just show our recipe for Sofrito, which is, if you're not familiar with it, it's basically a seasoning blend that you can use to basically season anything. So you can put this on, your vegetables. If you make some skewers to put on the grill, you can use it. You can put mushrooms and grill those or saute those. You can use it literally on anything. You can use it in your beans, for your rice. All of that stuff. So here are our ingredients. So we're using 1 bunch of cilantro, fresh cilantro, and 1 bunch of cilantro ancho or culantro, which is basically, it's a cousin of cilantro. It's a little bit less of an intense flavor. It's just and it has a really nice, beautiful flavor. So 1 bunch of each of those. They have to be washed really, really well whenever you use cilantro or culantro, because they tend to have a lot of like sand and dirt and things like that on them. So just make sure that you wash them really well. We have either 1 large, or you can use like 2 medium or small sized red onions. We have about a cup of garlic there. We like ours like very garlicky, very flavorful. Over here for the peppers. So we have 1 green pepper and 1 yellow pepper. Traditionally, folks will use a cubanelle pepper, which is kind of like the longer green pepper. But we're trying to use what we have in our fridge. So, and you can also use what they call
the Italian pepper.
Italian pepper, they call it that too. And you can also use what's called ají dulce. They're like the small, they're kind of like baby versions of the green peppers. But really, whatever you have in the fridge is great. So this, we just wanted to show, we make our own veggie stock. So like as a little bonus, this will keep these. So we'll put them in the freezer. So this is all the scraps that we use from basically cutting this up, taking the little parts of the stalk off of the bottom of the cilantro and the onion skins and all that stuff. You can save it. We usually save it in the freezer until it builds up to enough, and then we'll put it in a nice big stock pot with basically cover it with water, put some salt. You can also put tomato paste if you would like. And you just let it boil, really low simmer for at least 2 to 3 hours, but more if you want a more intense flavor. So we'll save this for the fridge later on. So from here, literally our trusty blender. This is like one thing, there are like lots of kitchen tools that you don't necessarily need, but as a vegan or plant-based, I feel like really high powered blender is like one of those like really important things to have. But basically we're gonna put the bunches in here carefully. Everything goes in the blender, all those ingredients. So again, 1 of each of the peppers, 1 bunch of each of the cilantro, the regular cilantro and the cilantro ancho, 2 of we had medium red onions, we used 2 medium red onions, or you can use 1 large one, and about a cup of garlic. And we're just gonna blend it.
Do you have to put any liquid in there at all?
You don't really, it really kind of blends together nicely. The onion actually has a lot of water, has a high water content. And so it will, let's get it on thing. It will blend up very easily. You can see it's starting to get closer. Starting to all come together.
Ooh, I could tell this is gonna be good.
Here it is. I'm gonna give you a little peek on the inside. It smells amazing. I wish I could send you some smell through the camera. And this is great. So again, this will be like the base of pretty much anything. You can season whatever you would like with this. You would just need to add like some salt and pepper and any other seasoning that you're gonna use. If you're gonna use like cumin or something like that, you can add that in, oregano, all that stuff. And it keeps pretty well in the fridge. It'll keep well in the fridge for about 3 to 5 days. Or we have these are silicone ice cube trays, but you can also just use whatever ice cube trays you have at home. But if you want to keep them, and they'll keep for months like this, we can fill these in with the sofrito, and then you can just pop them out like ice cubes whenever you need them. So if you like just want to do a little bit, use a little bit now, and then save the rest for later, and then just use it as you need to. That way you don't have to keep continuously make it if it's not something that you're going to use completely within those first couple of days. But otherwise you can use it for anything. Use it as a seasoning blend, use it in as a base for soups and for beans and things like that.
I think that's beautiful too, because something I've learned with the vegan journey is if you prep ahead of time, it makes things so much easier.
Yes, sometimes we'll have some fresh in the fridge, and sometimes it's just nice to have in the fridge. And sometimes it's nice to have some in the freezer just in case, you know, anything. It's similar to the beans. Like for us, for home, and for cooking, we always prefer the dried beans just because they have a better flavor. It's just like really nice. But for home, it's sometimes you're just kind of like, I need to put together, like my kid is hungry now and I need to put something together now. So I'm like, okay, let's use the canned beans and like, we're just going to go with it. We don't have time to soak them and prep them and all that stuff. So I think it's important, like we've been saying, to have those options. So if you still want to make something like nice and fresh and delicious, it's like a little bit of help in that sense to be able to pull it out from the freezer and stick it into your meal.
That's awesome. So if you were to create like one meal with the sofrito, what's like one Coco Verde recipe you would make with that?
And I think that this is what we'll use it for later, is to do some skewers with it. So take some chop up some nice mushrooms and put like some more peppers and things like that all on the skewer, maybe some tofu, all of that like nice on the skewer. And then you kind of brush this on and also put some, like, again, some salt and pepper and maybe some cumin and maybe a couple of other spices, but that, I feel like that would be really nice.
Yeah.
We also use it like for our bedding hand guisada. We've used it for that before too, a stewed eggplant, where you first braise the eggplant using the fire on the stove, and then you cook it. You peel the skin off and you cook it down. You can cook it down with the sofrito, and it comes out really, really nice. My cousin taught me to do that, and it's one of my favorites. And I love eggplant.
And that's beautiful too, because again, being vegan could be flavorful. And just from this demo alone, you showed us that it could be real easy. You just pop this in and you're just, sauteing it with your vegetables, whatever you decide to cook. Especially if it's a Coco Verde recipe, you gotta make sure it got flavor. But it makes it a lot easier. You won't feel so overwhelmed, like, oh, this is not gonna taste good, because you have natural flavors. You made your own. So like, what? This is amazing. It's healthy, what's in it.
Exactly, especially for folks that are trying to kind of get away, after Goya with all that stuff that came out. I think it's just kind if we're using seasonings, I think always organic. We love Louisa seasoning, so I think that's a really great option if people want the seasonings. But it's also really important to use like those fresh, like you're not going to get the same spice from, from something that's powdered as you are from something that's fresh. And so it's nice. I like to use things to like enhance, but the vegetables, I just think it's great to be able to have this as an option.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of like a family tradition, because I feel like my grandma would make this, you know what I mean? Like, oh, take a little bit for your house or whatever. So I love that. Like, it brings that island, that like family thing. I love that.
And it's one of those things that everybody has their own version. So like, this is how we do it, but like, somebody else, even in our own families, like different people do it differently. And I think it's beautiful in that sense that you have like, and we have just shared these guidelines, but you can feel free to play around with them however you want. Like maybe you want to use like red peppers instead. Some people add tomato paste. Some people cook it first and to like wake up some of those flavors. People do it. You can kind of use this as a template and then be able to kind of customize it to whatever you need.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Cecilia. This is like, wow. Fahrenheit TV, you're welcome. You're welcome. Because they both, like, I love that. I love the leadership. I love that you both are doing this for our community. Thank you both so much for all your contributions, for keeping us all inspired and motivated, and keeping us healthy. I think, especially when we're thinking about liberation, we're thinking about social justice and all that, we can't get to that without taking care of ourselves. So thank you for taking care of us and inspiring us to take care of others. So I'm so appreciative. This was awesome.
Young people, when I used to work at Southern Jamaica Plain Health Center, and our young people used to say that nutrition is the first line of defense against systemic racism. And now more than ever, it's just like, it is so true. Like, it's just so true. And it's an honor to be able to share these recipes and, be at least, even if we're just a little bit helpful. It's just like, it just has really touched us so much to hear how impactful our blog has been for you, and it's just it's why we do what we do. So thank you so much.
Thank you guys, and thank you for being like really like great leaders and like I can tell it's made out of love, that it's made out of, wanting to not only do good for your family, but really for the world. So thank you. Thank you so much. And I hope you both have a great rest of your summer. We will definitely be in touch because I need to get a vegan birthday cake in October. So yeah, I will definitely be hitting you both up. But thank you again for sharing all of your greatness with our audience. And Fahrenheit TV, please, please, please support these beautiful beings by visiting Coco Verde on all social media platforms and their website and their blog. I mean, they give so much. So please support our local community heroes. And thank you both for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Fahrenheit TV. So, did we convince you? Because, trying a plant-based diet is not only, beneficial for your health, but it could also be flavorful, it could be delicious, and it could still incorporate your heritage and your culture in every meal. And if, trying to be a vegan is not your thing, that's totally fine. I challenge you, my audience, to try to be a vegan for 1 week. 1 week. 1 week. I think you could do it. Just try and see how you feel. See how you feel. You just start off small. We are so lucky to have individuals like Cecilia and Ivannoe in our community, to have, someone to okay, they could do it, I could do it too. And I really feel that veganism is starting to be more accepted in Black and brown communities. So, we have influential individuals like Ivannoe and Cecilia. We have other people who are on YouTube who are making meals. So, we have resources now, which is so awesome. So, I'm so incredibly thankful to both of them for sharing their time, their wisdom, their greatness, for their contributions to the community. And I hope that, you'll try it. Nonetheless, I hope you were able to get some, great information from this interview, be inspired by their story and what they're doing with Coco Verde, their business, and that you will, really take care of yourself, because I think that was more of the aim of this interview, is to see how, eating well, whatever you decide that it be in your diet, could really, impact you as we move on in the future, especially as we're fighting multiple pandemics. We're fighting for more liberation, for social justice. We can't get to none of that if we don't take care of ourselves. So please, 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 kings and queens, please take care of yourself. Please eat well. Please rest. And, please engage in some joy, because joy is revolutionary, especially when we're fighting for so much change around the world. And I hope that you will continue to have a peaceful summer. Please, please, please visit our blog to, learn a little bit more about veganism, learn a little bit more about Coco Verde and how you could continue to support them. And, be in touch with all the things we are doing. We are so excited that we are able to continue to grow this platform, virtually. Shout out to Zoom and technology and the universe and God. But I hope that you all will have continue to have, hopefully, a peaceful summer. And I will see you on our next episode in August. Have a great night. Bye. Fahrenheit TV.